Evening. First of all, just talk us through what you sense this means and well, we hadn't seen or heard Benjamin Netanyahu for many hours. Very interesting.
We haven't seen or heard Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu in 10 days, in fact. It's been quite a long time. His office has occasionally emitted the sort of terse statement that you just repeated. It's hard to know if this is substantial or if this is part of a war on narratives, because, of course, Hamas is supposed to inform Israel which hostages will be released one day before, but there's no time specified in this ceasefire agreement. So it's hard to know if this is Netanyahu trying to kind of whip up the sensation, the feeling among Israelis that Hamas is already breaching the deal, or if, in fact, this is really a violation.
Now, tell me about where you are amongst the families of hostages, and also clearly the feeling, the conversations you've had about the nervousness, the anxiety, the hope about what could happen if this goes ahead tomorrow. Tell me about those you've been speaking to.
It's a remarkable thing, I have to say. The feeling here at Hostages Square in Tel Aviv has been much more overtly mournful and somber and sad, a really clear feeling of loss, and less, you have no sense of jubilation. There is, of course, the profound hope that 3 hostages will be released tomorrow. There's a very febrile sense of anticipation ahead of the release of this list of names. Everyone has been on tenterhooks waiting for that. Israeli families don't yet know if they will be civilians or military young soldiers released. But the feeling is not one of joy. And I want to return to what we just said. The fact that the Israeli government has yet to communicate at all with the population is really contributing to this feeling of kind of murky anxiety that you see washing over Israelis tonight.
It's very interesting because when we go back to what we were just talking about, this list of 33 names, this is a list that you have been on the programme. We've spoken before about having seen this list. The list has been widely available. It seems circulating in Israeli media as well. So is Benjamin Netanyahu saying that there's supposed to be another list that they get confirmation about? Where's this list?
Let me explain it.
Yeah.
Let me explain it because it's very complicated. The list of the 33 names we saw is a list presented by Israel to Hamas. This was the Israeli demand accepted by Hamas, of which are the 33 out of almost 100 Israeli hostages to be released in the full 42 days of this first phase of the ceasefire deal. What Israel is waiting for tonight is a list handed over by Hamas that should include the 3 names of 3 hostages who are expected to be freed from captivity by Hamas tomorrow. So right now, here where I am in Hostages Square, we're surrounded by family members. They all have loved ones stuck in Gaza, and nobody knows who will be released tomorrow, who could be released a week later, and whether they're alive or dead.
As of 8:30 tomorrow, Noga, let's say local time, it goes ahead. Talk us through the choreography of the day. What we would likely to see happen, who gets released in terms of prisoners, hostages, whether there's any idea of what kind of time that might happen as well, what happens too on the ground in Gaza.
I'll tell you what I know. Tomorrow at 8:30 a.m., as you just said, the guns are supposed to go silent. We just heard in the last hour from the Houthi rebels in Yemen that although they're not part of this deal, that they will respect the ceasefire and not shoot at Israel. They launched 2 drones today, so that should stop as well. That's in the early morning. Then there are going to be a few blank hours in the middle of the day. And what we heard today formally from the Israeli Prisons Authority is that the Palestinian prisoners to be released will not be released before 4 p.m. That's the earliest possible time. So let's say from 4 p.m. onwards. And that will be in response to this list of 3 hostages. In other words, if Hamas, for example, is releasing civilian hostages, Israel is expected to release 30 Palestinian prisoners for each civilian. If Hamas says it is releasing conscripted soldiers tomorrow night, then Israel is expected to release up to around 50 prisoners for each one of these hostages. So we have a list of names of all the Palestinian prisoners slated to be released during this entire 42-day phase, but we're waiting on the first list to get to the second part. And then only after the Palestinian prisoners have been taken from their jail cells and gathered in one central location, Israel Prison Authority trucks, blanked out trucks, are going to be taking them. Only then is the procedure inside the Gaza Strip expected to begin. So Hamas will bring these 3 captives to Red Cross vans, and the Red Cross will transport them to an Israeli border.
Noga, stay with us for a moment. I want to bring you into the conversation as well, Noga, with our correspondent inside Gaza, with Shruk Ayla. Shruk, great to have you on the programme. And first of all, great to talk to you. Just tell us about the last 24 hours have been like for you. We know we're very close to a ceasefire, and yet there's no sign of it right now.
So basically, it's such an announcement. It's not going into effect until tomorrow Sunday at the 8:30 a.m. But between this time and like in the past days when they announced the ceasefire until this moment, the attacks are ongoing. It's not stopping. It feels like it is just the same. And for somehow like yesterday, the situation got more escalated in terms of the bombings. Like they bombed the so-called green area and the south of the Gaza Strip. They bombed the displaced people tents as well. So there are lots of attacks everywhere in Gaza, especially in the northern part of the Gaza Strip. But even though people are stuck to the hope that this ceasefire will take effect tomorrow morning, and I can tell like nobody's able to catch. We are all catching our breath to this moment to happen, and I guarantee that like most of us are unable to sleep because we don't want to miss this moment, and all of us are anxious and terrified over the bombing. Like yesterday, the helicopter were like flying in a very low altitude that I could hear it very clearly, and this is actually I can say it's a kind of manipulating our feelings. It is literally a tense period, and those lifting hours are so intense in terms of the what is happening on the ground and in terms of what we are feeling of the upcoming hours.
And you're in Deir al-Balah. I think we can show on the map just roughly